Back 8:35, Jack and John in the morning on 1400 KLIN. How about that? 34 degrees out there, and it's like 8:30. This is awesome. This is living. This is what those people out in those Pacific Islands get to experience every day, right? Sure. It's great stuff. Well, okay, so, basically all I do after the show is screw around on the internet and try and find stuff to talk about. That's basically my job. And then occasionally, just once in a while, I stumble upon a nugget that is something good, and that happened with our next guest. Now, you probably know our next guest, or at least know his name, because of his work that he actually does. His name is Neal Obermeyer, and he's a cartoonist. You've likely seen his work, whether it be in the Journal Star, on the internet, other places around here. His work's got a good following. Now, I finally brought him in the show, but I don't really want to talk about his cartoon work. Neal, how you doing?
Doing great, thank you.
The real reason I've got Neal on the show is because I stumbled upon on his website what is the Fast Food Fish Sandiwch Tournament 2010. And I am someone who makes, like, if I have a decision to make and several options, I will usually form some kind of a tournament in my head to eliminate options. And that's why Neal's combination
is he's not
of
exaggerating.
fast food and tournaments intrigued me so much I just had to get him on. Neal, thank you for coming on, first of all.
It's my pleasure. I'm glad I could spread the news of the tournament.
Which I'm sure was just, I need to put something on my blog and just
I
have
can't
some
think
fun.
of any cartoons today.
And then you get one, deranged radio guy says, "This is great."
All right, so how did this actually come to fruition?
Well, I've had the idea for a few years, but I've never had the idea early enough in the year. I do most of my cartooning work at fast food restaurants. Like, I'll just sit, spread out the newspapers, and just eat, and then get free refills for a few hours until.
Did you hear that, Dane Ross? He gets free refills for a few hours.
Didn't anyone tell you, like, 10 years ago that these things called coffee houses kind of existed with free Wi-Fi and stuff? Or is it still the fast food for you, really?
Well, yeah, and only places that offer free refills.
That's true.
If they charge for the refills,
Absolutely.
not a cartooner.
That's smart. That is smart.
But anyway, I'm sorry for that tangent.
That's all right. No more cartooning, just fast food tournaments, please.
So being a Catholic and cartooning on Fridays, I would always end up eating whatever the fish sandwich offering was at whatever fast food place I was at. And then with March being full of tournament talk, every year I was like, oh, I should do a tournament of these things. And so finally this year I actually thought of it in time. And so I just had to figure out, try to think of every fast food place I could think of that offered a fish sandwich.
Right.
And
It's funny because nowadays in public school you get a choice of what's on the menu when you're in school. But I can remember going to school and not being Catholic. Every Friday was a fish sandwich, and it was just like, oh, you got to be kidding me, because I'm not a big fish fan. And the same thing kind of existed in fast food for a while, where you had your meat, and you had your meat, and you had your meat. And then, McDonald's comes out with the filet of fish.
That was huge.
And now everyone seems to believe that they've got to have a fish offering on the menu. Were you able, though, still in this day, to find enough restaurants to fill a bracket?
Yeah, because like the way the bracket narrows down, it needs to be like divisible by
8 or 16, unless you want to have some kind of a play-in game.
And that's what
course.
I pursue. A colleague of mine, Erin, she wanted to shout out. We brainstormed one day how many we could think of. We actually came up with 10.
Okay.
And so I needed to figure out a way to get that down to 8. So I actually had a local qualifying round and a regional qualifying round in order to get into the top 8.
So like the play-in game. You're like the 65th team in the NCAA tournament, right?
Yeah. So if you're a national chain, you automatically made it into the bracket.
Okay.
But then Broncos and Don and Millie's were the local bracket.
Okay.
And then Runza and Culver's then were the regional. And
Okay.
so yeah. Well, and actually, on the way here this morning, I realized that I forgot. I'm assuming that King's Classic at Amigos has a fish sandwich, and I forgot them. So
Wow.
I'll have to make it up for next year.
And do they have yet the crisp fish burrito that you can douse in ranch also? Well, that would be something that you could also add. I don't know if they've come out with that yet. But all right, so where are we in the process here? Because you got started back in February, right?
Yeah, but I had to break down this tournament, figuring out how many Fridays and Ash Wednesday I had in Lent, and what I ended up having to do was pack in 3 days. I called it the 3-day opening ceremonies between Ash Wednesday and the first Friday of Lent.
Right.
But just because I had that many rounds I had to get through so that it could end on Good Friday.
Right. You have to time this out.
So right now I've got the 2 qualifying rounds done, and then the first two rounds. So I still have 4 sandwiches that I haven't even had for the first time
Okay,
yet.
so you still have one opening round. Okay, so who's still alive? Let's clear that up here.
All right. Well, I'm gonna just have to walk through
Here,
this.
I've got the bracket up on my screen here.
Okay.
If you need any help here.
In the local bracket, Broncos narrowly defeated Don and Millie's.
Okay.
I got to admit, where is Broncos?
That's in Omaha.
That's all. In Omaha.
So you're counting Omaha.
He
too,
does.
okay.
This is both Omaha and Lincoln.
Okay.
I should mention this, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And then in the regional bracket, Runza defeated Culver's, which a lot of people were surprised.
Wow.
by. I had some people on Facebook taking Culver's as an early
Is that
favorite.
Does the Runza fish sandwich also have the chopped up cabbage in it as well, or is it just straight fish sandwich?
It's straight fish. No, actually, maybe we can get to this later, but Runza's sandwich so far kind of defies the standard of like just the square block of cod.
Right.
But I'll get back to that.
Okay. Hold on. Do you like these sandwiches in general?
No.
See, okay, yeah. Well, that's good because that's part of the principle of sacrifice for Lent. So I suppose that's a good thing.
This would be like Jack having to rate fruit pies.
Right, exactly. I don't think fruit should be in pie. Maybe I'll do a fruit pie tournament. But okay, go on.
Because I do love fast food, and like as my wife would tell you, like she probably just saw this as another excuse to eat more fast food. Right. But I don't particularly enjoy the fish sandwich part of the fast food experience. So this is a way to find something that
the best of something that you don't generally like.
All right, so Runza made it through. Broncos made it through. Who else?
Then Burger King defeated Broncos, but that was a controversial round.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then
Do you care to share? Wait, you left us hanging. Why was there controversy?
Because Broncos, which I discovered in the second round, has 2 different fish sandwiches. And then Burger King has offered a new cilantro lime version of the BK Big Fish. And I normally am okay with the BK Big Fish, but like I got to the counter and saw that they had this like Lent special, the cilantro lime, and I just kind of panicked and was like, oh, I gotta order the special.
I do
one.
that all the time. You don't know what to do, and they're just like, what do you want? You say something, you're like, oh, that's a bad order.
Well, and then I wasn't sure which of the 2 Broncos sandwiches I had the first time, so I just ordered the one that was called the Fish Witch because that seemed more special because it has a
witch
a contracted name.
Yeah.
Right.
And it wasn't nearly as good as the first time, and then the cilantro lime Big Fish I thought was awful. And also that round was the 3rd day of the 3-day opening ceremony. So and I also had to cram 2 fish sandwiches into 1 lunch because I was going to dinner with my wife's family
This
for her
tournament's
sister's.
really taking on a nut.
And you couldn't really say to the in-laws, sorry, I'm not eating tonight. I had like 6 fish sandwiches this afternoon.
Right. So by noon on Friday, February 19th, that was my 6th fast food fish sandwich in 48 hours.
Oh man, I don't think anyone has done that ever.
And I would say I typically average a fast food meal a day, roughly.
Yeah.
But that was even like
I love this guy.
I discovered my limit then, and so like they were 2 not great sandwiches. Like I'm going to be generous and assume that it was my situation that made them seem a little worse than they were.
This is like the movie Super Size Me at this point, you know?
Yeah, so I had to like sit on that round for the weekend and just like I couldn't decide who won. I was like regretting both of them moving on, but then I was like, okay, which one would I rather go back and eat again? And I was like, I'd be willing to go back and try the big fish again. So I was like, that decides it.
Okay. All right. So continue to take us through the bracket.
All right. And then Runza defeated Wendy's on the 26th. So then tomorrow it's McDonald's versus Hardee's. And I can tell you my wife is worried for my safety going to Hardee's.
Is there any early handicap? Is there a Hardee's in Lincoln anymore, or is it just in Omaha?
I don't think so.
There's one in Omaha, and then there's one on the interstate kind of in between, like maybe around 144th.
Yeah, in Millard.
Back in the 80s, I used to go get those cinnamon raisin biscuits in the morning when Hardee's was one of the first fast food restaurants serving breakfast. Those things were fantastic. It really dropped off the map.
And I grew up in Auburn, and that was like our only fast food.
Oh, really?
Like, so it was a big deal when
the
Hardee's
Frisco burger, right?
Oh, yeah.
So